Okay, first I want to thank Dan and TCG for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I'm grateful that everybody showed up. Just to try to kick this thing off a little bit and kind of get a little bit back and forth, how many of the partners here today sell managed IT services? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, and how many of those feel comfortable identifying the product, articulating the value, assessing an environment, standing that environment up, managing the life cycle? How many? Okay, less. Okay, how many believe that managed IT services providers that are in all of your end clients will never ever sell any unified communication services? Oh, no hands there. Okay, great. So I'm here to introduce Proactive Managed IT. We put a really, what I feel is a kind of a revolutionary package together to work with master agents across the country. The first part that I want to really focus on is that we're a 100% channel-focused company. We have no direct clients, and you're going to hear a couple times in this presentation that we work for you. Okay, if I can have Noel and Mark stand up and just kind of wave your hand. These gentlemen are VCIOs. Does everybody know what a VCIO is? Okay, it's a virtual chief information officer. So these guys are highly skilled technical individuals that can go all the way into the ground and all the way to the top of an IT infrastructure stack. But more importantly, they're revenue facing. These guys are sales people. So I'm going to, by introducing you to these gentlemen, I want you to know that they now work for you. If in fact you want to pursue, managed IT services as a part of your portfolio. And it's not just the technical, it's not a one and done. These are a partnership relationship where you're working with these guys on a daily basis. So we were founded about 2.5 years ago, and we were born in the channel. This company was purpose-built to support master agents across the country. My background is telco. I'm one of you folks. I spent 25 years in the telco vertical, and we saw an opportunity to really become an enabler for the telco vertical to move into the managed IT space with a convergence of managed IT and telecom. So the opportunity there is for you to leverage our capabilities to maximize the opportunity within that converged environment. The biggest point here is we sell no telco, right? So we are never ever going to compete with you. This company was purpose-built from the ground up to literally act as an extension of your team and enable you with a complete managed IT overlay. Okay, so the important stuff, we're all coin operated here, right? So what is it, how do I sell it, and what do I get? So we are a complete managed IT technology overlay. So I'll go into this more deeply further in the presentation, but everything from desktop servers, virtual servers, mobile device management, cloud services, managed Wi-Fi, LAN management, security as a service, all of that stuff. If it's got a blinking light on it, in a company 2,000 employees and down, we're going to manage it. That's the opportunity for you. Every partner and every deal is assigned a VCIO. So that's important. I talked to you about Noel and Mark here. We're not a product that there's no SKU number on what we do. If you can identify an opportunity, you're going to bring us in. We will work with you. You're the boss to execute within that environment. There's also 4 tiers of support. So behind every VCIO is a sales engineer, and then behind that we've got a NOC with 650 gold certified techs managing every endpoint. In the background, 24/7, 365. And we also have a US-based help desk. So any end clients, employees have issues, they can open up a chat session or pick up the phone 24/7. We're there to support all that stuff. The most important thing about IT is complicated. It's complex and it's dynamic. It's changing every day. Everything that was right yesterday is no longer right today. So we bring the capabilities, the knowledge, and all the human resources wrapped around technology to make it an enabler for you and a success for the end client. So how do you sell it? In its simplest form, if you can get one of your end clients to raise their hand and say, I have a problem, I have an interest, there's an issue I'd like to address, bring our guys in to let them have that conversation with them standing next to you. They'll articulate the value, they'll assess the environment, they'll come back with a proposal, they'll close the deal, they'll stand it up, they'll do all the training, they manage the life cycle. They do all those things that it takes to make IT not just an enablement tool, but a success for you and your client. I think this is the biggest point here. You know, there's a lot of end IT services and capabilities in many portfolios. The question is, how do you glue all that stuff together and make it valuable? That's what our team does, right? We take endpoint technology endpoints and turn them into an end-to-end solution. So what do you get? You're currently, well, if you're a pure UC agent, you're currently leaving 75% of all the IT spend on the table when you walk out the door. Now, IT spend is both telecom and managed IT. Typically, what we're going to get on a per-seat basis, fully deployed, is somewhere between $125 and $175 per month. Recurring revenue for every employee in that company. With a current payout schedule that you guys have, that TCG has negotiated with us, you're going to get 20% recurring revenue plus, depending on your relationship, recurring on a monthly basis on every endpoint that we deploy. So if you think about that, if you look at your installed client base, you can get them to have that conversation, multiply every employee times $150 a month times 20%, and that's what your opportunity is on a monthly basis tomorrow. By doing what? By picking up the phone and calling one of these guys to identify the opportunity and work with them to take the next steps. Depending on who's in the room, this is either a good thing or a bad thing, right? So there are very few, if any, IT providers currently out there that aren't selling some type of unified communications, and that's getting bigger and bigger every day. So if you walk out of a client, you've taken 25% of the spend, you're pretty happy about that. What you should know is that your biggest competitor is the IT organization internally or the outsourced IT organization that probably and most likely has the ability to sell everything that you currently do. And guess what? They're talking to that client every day just like we do, and in most cases, they got a better relationship. So just to reiterate, we're non-competitive, we sell no telco. Our sole purpose for existence is to work for you as an extension of your team, so you become the trusted advisor for everything IT. So this is our current footprint. Our goal and our model is basically to expand across the United States to support our master agent relationships. Currently, as you can see, we have a new team here, Noel and Mark. These guys are not just VCIOs. Noel's actually Director of IT Operations, so you got my best guy. All the technical guys roll up under Noel. But more importantly, these guys are generals in Florida. They're growing this whole geography for us. Currently, we're focused on Tampa, Orlando, and South Florida. Corporate headquarters are in Minneapolis. The NOC is there. The help desk is there. We also have footprint in Southern California, and we're in Georgia as well. For expansion in 2018, we're currently looking at Texas. Kevin, I was talking to you about that. This is really kind of up and down the eastern seaboard, and Chicago, possibly Denver as well. I just want to address something really quickly here. We currently have large organizations that we support across the country. Okay, so just because we're in that footprint doesn't mean that if we have a 150 location medical organization from Rhode Island all the way up through Maine, that we're not going to support that. Where the deals demand and the resources require, I'll fly guys in to close those deals and to support them, to get them up and running, and then we hire underneath for that. We're currently doing that. So my point is that we're new in Texas right now. We're flying in to do those deals remotely, but I can roll a truck anywhere, anytime tomorrow morning in a second if I need to. Okay, so our goal is to identify areas where there's big demand. We will support those today. So if you have a multi-location enterprise organization, you say, well, geez, I'd really like to introduce these guys, but they're in Northern California. If the deal demands it, we'll put a team in place to execute against that. Okay, so what we deliver. We have an extensive IT portfolio. What we deliver is what I call enterprise white glove managed IT services. So whether you know it or not, 80% of the SMB marketplace today is a break-fix model. That's transitioning slowly to proactive management. And proactive management is not going to Best Buy, buying a bunch of stuff, setting it up and waiting for it to break so I can charge you $250 an hour when I send out a guy to fix it. That's break-fix. That's the old model that's been around since day one. We're a newer generation. Essentially what we do is we're deploying agents into every endpoint and every end client's environment. And we got a NOC and a help desk that's literally real time watching every endpoint 24/7. When we do that, we're doing all the patching, all the scripting, all the AV updates continuously 24 hours a day. So when issues come up, we see those 6 months when a server is coming into life. We know that 6 months before that's going to become an issue, and we're going to send it out, stand it up before it becomes business impacting. That's proactive. So our sweet spot, excuse me, is essentially 25 to 2,000. Really, we focus on kind of the 50 to 500. We'll go down to 25. If your mom needs help and she's got 3 employees, we'll do that too, but only on a one-off basis. Typically below 25, you're not making money, and neither are we. But our focus really is 25 to 500. That's our sweet spot. But because of our specialty services that I'll talk to you about, we're getting pulled up into 2,000 employee companies on a routine basis at this point. This is one of the biggest differentiators for us. Okay, technology is great. As I mentioned, it's dynamic. It changes on a daily basis. How do you make technology a sellable solution that you can rely on, that optimizes the outcome for the client? You wrap it with specialized human resources, from start to finish to enable that to become a revenue generator. So we got VCIOs on the front end. You've met these guys. Sales engineers follow them up. US-based help desk and a NOC, continuously monitoring everything 24/7. I'm going to say this again. These guys now work for you, right? And they're here to ensure your success. So what are the offerings? And by the way, this is dynamic and it changes. Dan asked, what do you got hot that's coming up right now? And I'll tell you that we're continuously adding to our portfolio very specialized offerings that make us unique in the marketplace. And one of those are some of the new cybersecurity offerings, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But basically, it's anything with a blinking light. Backup, disaster recovery, cloud-based services, desktop servers, virtual servers. We have multiple cloud offerings. LAN management, Wi-Fi management, file sync and share. We support software. We're very, very big on security. Almost every deal that we get into today is going to have a firewall that's probably 18, 24 months old. And a firewall is your first line of defense. Most of that stuff is obsolete that we're running into. Most of our clients are not only going to update their firewall, we're also going to deliver security as a service, meaning our NOC is watching their firewall, making sure all the definitions are updated continuously to keep them safe and protected in this environment. So specialty practices. This is a big deal. In fact, I would say 30 to 35% of our business now is being driven by our specialty practices. So there's a lot of IT companies out there, and they're going to stand up your server and they're going to manage all that stuff. The fact of the matter is we've invested in and created 3 specialty practices specifically around cybersecurity. And this is a big deal. This is how you get pulled into big deals. There's not enough qualified people in the United States today to execute against the demand for this stuff. You can't open a newspaper on a daily basis without hearing about somebody else that got hacked. So just as one example, we just did a cybersecurity audit for a 190 location retail organization, actually based out of Florida here. The nice thing about that is that's a hook. After we did the initial audit, that always turns into security as a service. So we do the audit, we find all the things that need to be remediated. We're going to take care of that. You get paid on that. Then that transitions into security as a service, and now we're in. because we show them the capabilities that we bring to the marketplace that are absolutely required in this environment to keep your organization safe. HIPAA compliance in healthcare. How many people are doing anything with that right now? Okay, so when people say HIPAA compliance, it means a lot of things. Oh, I saw a HIPAA compliance server. That's not necessarily HIPAA compliance. I'm not suggesting that that's what you're doing. But the fact of the matter is HIPAA compliance is all about process and end-to-end security and process management throughout the organization, right? So we literally do HIPAA audits for large medical organizations all the way down to 25 employee dental practices. And I'll also mention to you that there's, it's not just the medical organizations, but it's anybody in their ecosystem that touches EPHI. So the accounting firms, the law firms, the service providers, okay, those guys all have to have agreements in place showing that they are part of the compliance for HIPAA compliances. So for very, very large enterprise clients, we're actually partnered with one of the top 4 cybersecurity and HIPAA practice firms called Aaron Fox, 2,000 employee law firm across the United States and international as well. So if they are a 190 location medical organization and hospital, we can support that. We also have capability all the way down through to a 25-man shop, but in every case, we're providing all the IT security underneath. So if you have one of those opportunities, they're big, and my God, do they pay, right? We have not walked into one HIPAA opportunity that hasn't turned into big remediation. HIPAA is a service on a monthly basis, and gotten involved in their entire IT infrastructure process. PCI compliance, again, another big one. I mean, we're we're in the process of doing multiple major PCI engagements right now, and we can do everything from tier 1 to tier 4. So even if you're one of the largest merchandise processing organizations in the country, we can handle that. We have QSAs that we leverage for the really, really high-end stuff. But again, we're doing all the IT management underneath, locking them down and keeping them secure. These are big hooks. Everybody's talking about it. The whole HIPAA thing, there's a thing called the Office of Civil Rights, believe it or not, under the Health and Human Resources. These guys are doing unannounced audits at every medical organization in the country today. They've already done like 64,000 of these things, and it's not the big guys they're focusing on because they believe the big guys have got it knocked. Fines in there are ranging anywhere between $175,000 to $3.5 million, even for organizations that might only have 100 employees or so. So this is something that everybody needs. There's not enough HIPAA qualified organizations in the country to support the demand for that today. If you're talking to a dental office, medical office, insurance company, law firm that works in the medical field, that's an obvious immediate hook. Okay, I touched on a little bit of this stuff earlier, but the thing I want to point out to you is, and this comes back to kind of the break-fix conversation, we charge a predictable amount on a monthly basis for all of our capabilities. Let me say that again. So if we go into an environment, they have 100 employees, we're not selling blocks of time. They're going to pay us kind of a number reflective of the capabilities and the services that we deliver. It's our responsibility because our guarantee is to keep them up and operational 24 hours a day. If Noel and Mark have to drive down there with a team of sales engineers and sit in their environment for 4 weeks because they have an issue, there's no additional charge for that. If I got to roll a truck tomorrow morning to make it right, I'll do that. So we are a per se predictable, budgetable number on a monthly basis. And I think actually if I have the time here, I want to kind of give you a perspective as to where we sit. You guys have all heard of Ingram Micro, one of the largest tech distributors in the United States. One of the things they're known for is they do an annual survey and study on what does it actually cost for IT within an environment on a per person basis. If you're a large enterprise customer, you actually have IT people on staff, you're going to pay $350 per month per employee to support them from an IT perspective. You might say, oh, that doesn't sound, that's all verticals, all geographies across the country. That's the number, 350. If you outsource your managed IT services, to organizations like us or other IT shops, that number comes down to $190 per month per employee. Where do we sit? We're going to engage. The base of what we do is remote monitoring and management. That's how we engage initially. That comes in around $70 per month. Okay? From there, they're going to need a backup and disaster recovery implementation. They might need managed firewall. There might be mobile device management. There could be security as a service. When you add all that stuff together within 2 or 3 months, we're going to come in right around $125 to $150 per month per employee, which is low end of the market for white glove enterprise services. Again, that $150 number is the number you would multiply times the number of employees times 20% plus to see what you would get paid just to get them to raise their hand and bring us in to help you. Okay, on top of everything else, we got the NOC, we got the help desk. We also do monthly reporting, because typically when we stand up an environment, the issues stop because we're monitoring all that stuff in the background. In order to support the value that we deliver, we're going to send out monthly reports, which you, our partners, get as well. So the business stakeholder sees their entire environment, how many tickets were opened, how many updates were done all across their environment, help desk situations that occurred. They see everything that we do for them on a monthly basis. And without fail, they will get a monthly report from us. On a quarterly basis, our VCIOs sit down with every client to do a strategic review. And why do we do that? We do that because if we sit down with them on a quarterly basis, every end client will have a 20% revenue uplift at minimum over a 12-month annualized period. Because there's always new servers, there's always new locations, there's always new employees, there's always new capabilities, there's always new technologies. So it's a good business decision on our part as well. So monthly reports, quarterly sit-downs with every partner and every client and every VCIO. Okay, partner support resources. So I talk about the fact that we've got a whole suite of technology capabilities from a managed IT perspective. We're going to wrap all the human resources around that. But we're also here to enable you from a sales and marketing perspective, right? So if you're looking for, co-branded marketing material, you guys have packages there. That's the proactive package, if you will. If you want your name on it, powered by us, we have a whole suite of pamphlets and things that support that, collateral. We send out a weekly blog, which you can leverage into your client base. And by the way, typically we're going to focus on the top 5 announcements or news articles that have come out of the space. Right now, there's so much stuff flowing around, data breaches and HIPAA violations and everything else, that we typically take the 4 best ones and throw the 20 others out because we would just be overwhelming people. This is not a sales piece. This is something you can you can share, you can sell too, but you can share with your end clients so they get a feel what's actually occurring in the marketplace. We do marketing campaigns, custom outreach, customer support. From a sales perspective, we'll provide you with training scripts, wedge questions, lead support. Fact of the matter is, you guys might say, well, this is great, Keith, and I don't really know you, but how do I get started? And the way to get started is simply calling one of these guys and start a discussion, right? It's nothing scary, nothing hard. They have a dual role. They're not just client-facing, IT superstars and closers, but they're your partner. If you want to discuss how to position yourself in the marketplace, hey Noel, I got this opportunity. What do you think about this? They're your guys. So if you can cross-map opportunities, pull them in, you could be selling stuff tomorrow. Yeah, sure.
What is the traditional sales cycle, the duration of your sales cycle for your product?
Okay, so it all depends on the size of the end client, right? So if it's a 190 location retail organization, it might be 2 to 3 months before we're going to close them. We literally, part of our process, and I didn't really highlight this, but we engage from a professional perspective every client. Because people say, well, geez, I got a pain in my back. What's that going to cost? Well, I don't know if it's a pulled muscle or it's cancer, right? So on every deal, part of our engagement process is to run an assessment, have a discussion, and do a walkthrough with that client. It's free of charge. Most firms charge $2,000 to $4,000 for this. It takes resources. I invest in those relationships with my guys. Okay? You run this report, you're going to see everything in their environment, every endpoint. When was it purchased? What's it running for applications? What's the temperature? How much hard drive do you have less? You know, when was what operating system is it running? You know everything about it. And here's the point. The point is that as soon as I find it here, they're all going to come back like this. It's not marketing. It's a 97% failure rate. What does that mean? It means we should be smelling smoke right now.
So when you talk about the stack of C-levels, who should we be talking to? The CFO? Certainly not the CIO or CTO, right?
Well, I'm actually, if I beg you to give me 2 more slides, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But let me specifically answer your question. The reason I brought that up is if you get into a 50-man shop that's outsourcing their stuff, 80% of those are break fix, 80% of them are doing a crap job. It's unbelievable what those environments currently look like. And those scenarios, a lot of times we'll do one and done closes right there. I mean, I've been in meetings when people said, you know, can you start right now before you leave? Right? So it all depends on the size of the organization. Larger organizations have budget cycles and things like that. 2 to 3 months on the big ones, sometimes instantaneous on the small ones. But even the small ones, you know, IT shops are smart. They're saying, well, you can only cancel with a 90-day out, that kind of thing. So I think if you figured 3 months, 90 days, you know, that's probably a good thing to shoot for. So our targets, 25 to 2,000 compliance is a big driver. PCI, HIPAA, cybersecurity, all this stuff is pretty obvious. Retail, healthcare, financial services, state, government, automotive dealerships, legal, municipalities, all those are really, really good targets for us. And with some of the credentials we have and some of the partners we have, for instance, you can't walk into a big municipality and say, hey, listen, you know, I really want to help you out here unless you've got certain credentials and you're using certain partners that have the capability to support something like that. We have those things. Okay, so client engagement process, I'll go through this very, very quickly. These guys work for you. So how do you act? How do you execute? How do we position? It's as individual as the individual client, right? So typically it's going to be they'll sit down with you, do joint sales and prospect mapping. Again, you're the boss. You dictate the terms and how things play out. We're looking for a warm intro to the individual client. We're the guys that can go in there and have those conversations, articulate the value, and manage this thing from end to end. We're going to do that free network assessment. This is a big deal. This is the thing that I showed you. We're going to know everything about that end client after we're done doing that. We're going to come back with a proposal. We're going to close the deal. We'll do all the onboarding, all the training, do the complete life cycle management, monthly reporting, and then quarterly sit-downs. Okay, this is the slide I was kind of talking about here. So a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking like, oh my God, so, you know, am I going to get everybody in the IT organization in that client's company fired? And the answer to that is sometimes yes, but most times no. So if you're working with a larger organization that has a CIO or an IT staff on site, if you took 100 CIOs out tonight for a drink and you asked them what keeps them up tonight, they're all going to say the same thing. Not enough budget and I can't keep my people. There's not enough qualified IT people to support half of what's going on out there in the marketplace. So for the larger organizations, we're going to do this stuff that they consider mundane. They don't like answering phones at 3:30 in the morning because Noel forgot his password or he can't map to the printer. So we're going to do patching, scripting, manage their firewall, do all the lights out management that they need that their people don't want to do or don't have the time to do or are overburdened doing. We can take what they would consider crap work off their desk at a fraction of what it's costing them to put a human butt in the seat. And now that team of 12 that they have can do the strategic things that are important within the organization. So we are an enabler for the larger to mid to enterprise customers, okay? And the small guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We run a report like this. How's that business owner going to hold this thing up and say, no, I love my IT guy, right? I could sit outside the glass, the glass window in the front of the place and drain every piece of data in the house in 20 seconds, right? So in those scenarios where they're not doing a proactive job, in a lot of cases, we're going to do a rip and replace. They're outsourcing that relationship anyway. And by the way, that guy that we rip and replace, if he hasn't already, he's going to be selling unified communications to them within a very short period of time. The other thing is, we help them with the transition. It's a whole mentality shift from break fix to proactive enterprise grade management. We provide everybody with a path to the cloud. We have those strategic discussions. What does it mean to you? Why would you want to do that? What product is right for you? Here's the budget. Here are the steps to get you there. And this is another important point. Especially in this space, everybody's like cloud, 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 cloud. Everybody wants to go to the cloud. Well, guess what? Only about 20% of the market's to the cloud because there's not a CEO in the world that walks in tomorrow morning and says, hey, Joe, there's 20 servers we got in the back room, throw them out, we're going to the cloud today. It's 250 desktops, put them in the dumpster. That just doesn't happen. So we act as an enabler. We're going to manage on-prem to hybrid to cloud and support them every step of the way. These smaller organizations that are outsourced, that's typically going to be a replace scenario. But again, if you have a larger enterprise that has IT people on site, our goal isn't to replace them. Our goal is to become an enabler to support their organization and let that transition go where it may. This is kind of a final slide. It's just kind of a top-down visual. It's instant operability. I know who you guys are. I spent 25 years being you in this space. This was all about how do I give you an opportunity to double your income by simply getting a 25% penetration into your sold existing customer base. There's all the tools, the capability, and the human resources to do that. And it all starts with one phone call. Call one of your partners. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Two questions.
Yep.
After the onboarding, they're running ABC app number 3. Do you guys automatically assume to take over the app management and maybe backup software that you're unrelated with or some older software, or do you guys strip out and start putting in your own?
So all the big stuff typically we're gonna manage. If it's a homegrown, something very, very unique.
Not at 100 users. That's going to be somewhat mainstream.
Yeah, right. I mean, most of the stuff we're capable to support, right? If they've got, it's amazing how many companies actually have this homegrown little capability. A lot of times we'll strip that up and put it in the cloud form so they just manage that instance, if you will, or we provide support for that. But our goal is to bring them into the 21st century. And I think 9 places out of 10 that you walk into, when you guys actually start going out with my guys and seeing these reports come back, the state of IT in America it's scarier than Halloween. It's bad, right? So it's very, very easy for us to come in, create engagement, and develop the kind of confidence that they need to move forward almost instantly. But again, you're going to be up against budget cycles.
Second.
Yes, sir.
If you get in there and all of a sudden the customer 6 months later needs to buy 2 or 3 new servers, what do you guys charge on that?
I'm really glad you said that. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to share my philosophy with you, and then we're going to talk about who the boss is. First of all, you're the boss. Straight up, okay? I think equipment is a commodity. I don't care if it's Dell, HP, Fortinet, whatever it is, it's a commodity. And it's a commodity that's a barrier to me getting recurring revenue, which is all I care about. Okay? So typically we're going to put in a sliver of margin on hardware because we will never be beat on hardware pricing. I want to get that out of the way because I want those monthly recurring revenue dollars. I said it once, I'm going to re-say that again, okay? If you pull us in, if we get a 25% penetration into your existing customer base, you will double the income on an annualized basis, on a per client basis.
Do you charge, is there a charge for the installation and configuration of the server?
So there is a setup fee, right? And typically, our typical setup fee is going to be the first month of recurring revenue. It's how we package the thing. because we put, we're going to have guys on site. We're going to be climbing underneath desks. We're going to be training. We're going to be doing all that stuff. So typically 1 month of their recurring revenue is kind of the onboarding fee. Now, if they got to buy 15 servers because the stuff they got is crap, or they got to move stuff up to the cloud, that's a consulting gig on the front end as well.
So a year later, a new server coming on, that first month is gone. I'm just trying to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So basically, let's talk about servers, right? So a year from now, they need a new server, right? They're going to pay the cost of the server with zero margin. Onboarding for a new server is, we charge about $250 to $300 per month recurring revenue to manage that on a monthly basis. They're going to pay us $250 for a new product onboarding for that, because we still have to stand it up, configure it, and integrate it into the environment.
If they're replacing, there's no extra charge. So if they're replacing a server, pulling one out, putting one in, I just want to know how the portion of growth.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Come on, give me a hard one. Any other questions?
Enough with the easy questions, right?
Yeah. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you very much. These are your guys, give them a call.